was my dashboard. You see the hat is on. Today is the first morning of the winter that I actually am freezing cold in my car and will be waiting in here for at least another 35 minutes. I have been at school since 5 to 6 and it's nice. It's nice to be back. I'd be lying. I'm sure I'm one of those people. I'm not getting out of bed this morning. It's all good because I can't wait to be with my kids. This is a very lonely vacation for me. It is the first time in a long time that I didn't have my son for an extended period of time. He was with his dad this vacation. Morning, Don. And so there was a lot of introspection time. There was a lot of reflecting, lots to think about in my personal life that, I think most of us, we like to think we keep our personal separate from our work, but the bottom line is that all of that stuff kind of seeps into what we do every day, and the way we feel about it, the way we feel about different things in our lives definitely shades the way we approach things. Maybe it doesn't have a direct impact the way that we might think, like one person's actions cause a reaction in some way that definitely creates challenges in other ways. But I would say that my current situation has certainly brought things back into focus, really starting to think about the things that matter, and I'm very, very, very excited about that. December was an amazing month for me. 2 of my books came out. They were met with some really amazing sort of initial feedback from the folks who have read them so far. And I'm still kind of riding on the high of that. But January is one of my favorite months in my syllabus. Every year, thank you. Every year in January, it's Gatsby month, kind of. Like, it's not really the whole month. It's about the first 2.5 weeks of the month where we really deeply explore Gatsby. And I've done it a little differently every single year because I think I get more bored of things than my students do. And I'm really the one that's got to repeat these experiences, not them. If things work really well, I'm happy to try to just tweak them a touch and kind of leave them as they are and let the new kids kind of grapple with how they want to approach them. So a couple years back, rather than do a traditional conversation about a text, which most English teachers, I imagine, do, what I did instead was I broke the class up into 5 groups, bigger ones because there are lots of characters in the text, and they were responsible for 1 to 2 chapters. And essentially what we did is we had a first day discussion, kind of laying down Fitzgerald's thoughts about the text, his craft, and all of these things. And then the students were tasked with the idea of taking 2 chapters, going through them, and rewriting them using dialogue directly from the text, rearranging them as a director would if they were adapting a book. What do they think is most important? What do they think really needs to be seen? What could be done as narrative? And what they have to do then is craft a scene or 2, craft a skit from the 2 chapters they're given, and then lead a discussion based on their 2 chapters. So it's twofold. If there are 7 people in the group, which we can all guess is a very large number of kids to have in one group, but when you have so many characters and when you have so many things going on, it's actually very good because they could break it up into the script part and then the discussion part and break it up so there are kids that are specifically working on direct areas. Now, what I love about this kind of group work as well is that they're all really grappling with the text. They've got to be in the text. They need to be collaborating together. They need to be really working through the space that they're working. Then they need to develop questions to lead a discussion specifically about the text in their sections, whether they're questioning Fitzgerald's choices, whether they're confused about something and they want to open it up to the class, whether they're fairly certain. I do not assign the roles in the group. That is up to them to decide. I make suggestions about different roles they can have, and then they determine themselves how they want to handle it. They're given 4 days in class, to work it out. They have time outside of school as well. I remind them about all the tools they're allowed to use outside of class if they can't get together personally. And then starting next week, each group will have a full day to lead class discussion on their 2 chapters. Now, the thing that's interesting, because I know a lot of folks out there, they want to grade group work, right? I'm so against that. We don't grade group work. We don't grade any work, really, as in terms of grading. But you can't grade an assignment that 7 kids work on, because you can't really know what each and every child took away from the experience. And if the grade is to be meaningful, if the assessment of this learning is to be meaningful, there needs to be a better way to assess it, where you can actually tie specific learning to specific kids. And I learned that specifically through Susan Brookhart's book about grading group work and different ways to do it better. I did it a while ago, read that book, and it really made an impact. Ken O'Connor talks about it as well. But what I think is each child needs to reflect on this experience. They need to talk about the specifics of what they participated. But more importantly, they're going to write a paper by themselves. A regular lit analysis paper that addresses the text using the experience they have. So if they're grappling as a group with what the text means, they could apply that learning to a paper which takes their understanding of the text, creates a thesis statement that is answering one of 20 prompts that they have the opportunity to choose from, and then they put together a paper that applies feedback and information that they've received in the past on earlier papers. This is now going to be, I think, the 4th major paper that they've written this year, between a poetry analysis paper, a lit analysis paper, and the 3rd one was a modest proposal. They actually wrote a satire. And now this one will be another analysis paper. By the time we get to Pride and Prejudice, which comes next, they're going to have some creative choices as well as academic choices, but it's going to be up to them. They're also going to have a tableau assignment. There's a couple of illustrative assignments that are also going to come up. I used to teach Pride and Prejudice in pieces because it's a rather dense text and it's also very long. But after reading Ariel Sachs's whole novels, it reminded me about why students need to get the entire text at once. So what we're going to be doing with the whole text of Pride and Prejudice moving forward, kids are going to have the opportunity to, again, grapple with the text, but it's more of a character study, more of a setting study, talking about the time period and the characters, which is exactly why I use Gatsby and Pride and Prejudice back to back, because if there's one thing Fitzgerald and Austen do very, very well, is they are able to capture the time periods that their pieces are being written in. And I love for kids to see how literature can capture history in this way, cultural history, social history. And I think that it adds depth to their understanding of history when they see how culture interprets the time. So I'm very excited about the next few weeks. I think one of my PLN, what's the biggest, my biggest challenge? My biggest challenge is always time, because there's one of me and there are 34 of them. So I like to make sure I'm meeting with every single group, and at least an equal or an adequate amount of time over the course of this project, the various different projects that they have. And so I try to have them kind of pre-prepare what they need from me before I get there, because I don't want to sit down with them and like kind of force them to tell me something that's not really there. And the kids have gotten really, really good actually saying, well, we're having difficulty with this. Can you help us with this? This is our idea. What do you think of this? How could we improve or refine this idea? Like, they've been getting really, really good at homing in on the specifics of what they need me to do. They know what I won't do is tell them what to do. What I will do is offer them suggestions. I will ask them to expand upon ideas. I will let them know if I'm confused about their ideas. I will let them know if it sounds like to me like they don't really have it together yet. That's my responsibility, I think, to just give them my ideas as a viewer, responding to what they are doing, as opposed to telling them if it's good or if it's bad, because I think that that's also subjective, and so much of it has to do with the way that they actually execute on the day. But a good plan certainly makes for a better execution, and even just teaching them to plan better, teaching them to have certain things in place. Now, the kids don't just show up to this presentation. They have props. They have to share their script with me. They have to share their outline for the discussion, what they hope to accomplish. And then I also have them share that with the class as a secondary resource for the students in the class for what they're going to be taking away from it. And really, this half of the year is so innovative. It's so exciting because after Pride and Prejudice, we start Hamlet. And what do I do to get with my introverts? My introverts, this is very interesting. The introverts in my class, we use Twitter as a back channel in my space. So if a lot of kids are feeling uncomfortable about having conversations or about sharing their ideas, we have a hashtag WJPS AP Lit. And we use that hashtag, and students are allowed to put questions and comments on there. They also have personal blogs that they're allowed to respond to things on. I don't really go after them very much to force them to do certain things. I mean, it's a space for them to talk about their literature, but other things. And I really do try to have lots and lots and lots of options for the kids who might not be as comfortable acting. But really, one of my goals throughout the year is getting them more comfortable. We didn't start here. It's January now. We've certainly built up to it. I happen to have a very theatrical class this year, so even when we did they did their Christmas Carol movies, which were absolutely freaking amazing. They were hysterical. They were well thought out. They were really well put together. We've really had a bunch of opportunities for them to have a good time in class. We do Animal Farm talk show segments. We do lots of different things that get them comfortable working as a team with each other and just getting silly. Silly is a huge part of what we do. And then, in my newspaper classes, for my junior newspaper class, they're going to be starting their investigative features, which I call their passion projects. And really the goal is to have them select their own topics that they really want to deeply explore. I help them find experts to do interviews with, because that's really part of what the learning is about. The learning has to be about student-driven interest and real reporting. So the idea is that I want them to select their topic. We go through an extensive brainstorming experience. Then I help them find resources, or at least give them the tools to find the resources they need. And then we start cold calling people, because part of this assignment is that they have to talk to at least 3 experts that exist outside of school. So they're on their phones in class, they're making calls, they're writing email inquiries, they're dealing with people on the outside like a real reporter would have to, and I think it's a really phenomenal opportunity. Anyway, this Periscope's going on awfully long for a Monday morning, and I just wanted to say thank you, everybody, and Happy New Year. I will be checking in sometime later this week. I hope everybody has an awesome Monday and first day back. Thanks so much.